Hello, everyone. I'm here with Eric Meyer of Happy Cog and an event apart. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Doing great. Thanks for talking with me about event
Hey,
apart today.
thanks for having me to talk. That's glad to do it.
Great. Well, a lot of people have been to these events, but some people may not have. Why did you guys? Why are you coming to Atlanta?
Well, we actually came to Atlanta 5 years ago.
Right. It's been a
It was our
while.
second show ever, and it was back when Event Apart was one day and like 100 people in a funky venue. We did it at the clubhouse at Turner Field,
Yep. That was.
um, which was it was fun and all. But since then, we've been we've expanded. We went to 2 days the year after that, and now we're at 3 days, a 2 day conference and a 1 day workshop. And so, we feel like we felt like it's been too long since we've been back to the southeast, and Atlanta seems like the natural place to do it.
It's a good hub.
Kind of centrally located within the southeast sector of the United States. So, and we would hear from people, every year when we announce the schedule for the upcoming year. We'll hear from a lot of people be like, "How come you don't come to Europe or Japan?" But how about the South? Do you guys ever come south of the Mason-Dixon line, right? And so we had been in Atlanta in 2006. We did New Orleans in 2008,
Right.
but
We build
we
websites
just
down here too.
right, exactly. And a lot of great people down, in the
Right.
southeast. And so it was just, we, of course, I live in Cleveland. The Cleveland market, Cleveland has yet to have an event apart, although the local web peeps keep
I can
telling me that
imagine.
they're gonna organize a petition
You're
drive.
like, hey, we're right here, man.
Right. And we concentrated on cities where we knew we could really build momentum.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
and it's when you're running a business, it's sometimes it's easy to do that, right? It's to be like, well, we know that Seattle and Boston are huge, right? We
Right.
know that there are tons of web people in San Francisco, and maybe we should just go to those cities, and we do go to those cities, but we
Yeah.
like to go other places, and so we'd like to build up in Atlanta, the southeast. We don't want to leave anyone out, so
Right.
yeah.
Absolutely. Well, why did you guys start doing Event Apart in the first place? I've heard stories about this, but just not bad
Um,
stories.
I think there were two reasons. One was that Jeffrey and I had, you know, been speaking at a lot of the same shows together, and had gotten friendly through that, and through the Web Standards
Right.
Project, and through various and sundry stuff. And eventually, we were talking and said, we were at some conference or other, and it was just like, we could do this. We could probably do it really well. Like, we could do better than this. I don't clearly recall which conference it was, and if I could, I wouldn't name names anyway. But it
Right.
was one of those where I was like, oh man, this doesn't feel good,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't feel right.
Right.
This could be done better. But the other reason was that we knew that there was an audience, a web standards audience, effectively, that wasn't really being directly served by anything, right?
True.
There were web design conferences, but they weren't web standards design conferences, right? And there might be, the IW3C2 has the WWW conference series, which are totally web standards conferences, right? But they're not design conferences. They're really very academic, and have been for a long time. So we kind of felt like, there's this a list apart type audience, which is people who are developers and designers. They're comfortable in both worlds. They may fall more to one side than the other, but they understand both worlds, and they really care about web standards, and they really care about doing their jobs right. They're what we call
Right.
craftsmen or craftswomen.
I love that term.
And right, and so it's not just I need to get this page out the door. It's this page needs to have the correct semantic structure, right?
Right.
Because for all the reasons that we all understand, and there wasn't really a conference that was dealing with that directly. So we
Hmm.
decided at first, like I say, we were doing one day,
Right.
100 people, and there was this great response, and the feedback we kept getting was make it bigger. So took a chance and did, and it's
Right.
worked out really well.
Right.
So.
Well, speaking of that, what makes you guys? I mean, you Event Apart events. Like you just said, you went through the reasons why they're legendary. Why is that so? I mean, what do you guys do? Like, how do you curate that day?
Um, Well,
Magic.
how do yeah, well, the magic of Jeffrey to some degree. Jeffrey's usually the one who arranges the schedule, but it's not, it's both of us in terms of trying to figure out, what are people interested in, but what would they be interested in if we put it in front of them, right? So like content strategy is not something that a lot of people in this realm really thought about a couple years ago.
Right.
But we knew that it was of interest, and we knew that it was a topic that our audience probably would care about if it was in front of them. So we asked Christina Halverson to talk, and the response has been great. So, in Atlanta, where she's actually, in addition to speaking during the conference, the third day is a full day of content strategy with Christina. That's one example. And also to look for what are people doing that's cutting edge, I guess.
Right. Absolutely.
People who have been, people who like Dan Cederholm or Andy Clark or Jason Santamaria or Nicole Sullivan or Christina Halverson, what are they looking at coming next? Like, what are they working on now? Where are they pushing forward? And to get them to talk about that, because that's where our audience is going to be very soon, right? And they want to hear about that. They want to know what Dan Cederholm was playing with in the CSS realm. They want to know what Jeremy Keith is learning from the changes in HTML5. They want to understand the latest thinking in accessible JavaScript,
right?
And so on and so on. And so that's really how we curate it. We try to figure those things out, and then once we've figured those things out, we try to find the best speaker or speakers for those topics. Web typography, Jason Santamaria is a great choice.
And Jeff Veen, you don't get any better than that.
Yeah, well, there are, and certainly there are other people who could also do the topic, but they're people that we know, and that we know that what they're doing, and we know what they're working on and what they're thinking about, and so those are examples. And with content strategy, Christina Halverson was the person who came to mind. That sort of thing.
What are you into personally these days? What are you interested in learning personally?
CSS3.
Yeah.
Really, it's much more complicated than it first appears, and I understand that that's really saying a lot. What I've been working on recently has been, in that realm, has been a 4th edition of the CSS Pocket reference, and as part of that, I've been building test suites. In fact, as the day we're recording this, I just published a blog post that exposed the tests that I was doing to the world, that I created to the world.
I saw that post that it was a week or so ago that you put out. Were you doing
well, no, this one went up today. I did have a post a week ago, but that was about something else.
Okay.
Well, something early. And so, writing tests to sort of see, what works and what doesn't, right? Like building and it turns out building some of these test pages was really, it took a lot.
Sure.
The list style type in CSS3.
Right.
I've forgotten, but there are like 100 list types.
Yeah.
Now.
There's a lot.
And so to list them all out and then see what browsers do, and to be surprised in some cases, like WebKit really supports a lot of list types, and I think it supports more list types than my particular computer can show, because on a lot of the list types I got 2 little square boxes,
Gotcha.
Which to me says I would have done this if you had an AFAR font.
Right.
I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Some weird pronunciations coming for the stuff.
Right, exactly. Or maybe that's afar. Apologies if I offended anyone. But still, right? WebKit does a huge ton of these, whereas Gecko didn't do as many, and so on and so on. And so there was that. So there's I'm writing that 4th edition, and then after the Pocket reference I'll start work on the 4th edition of CSS: The Definitive Guide, which is going to be a lot of work.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're actually talking at Eventapart Atlanta, right?
Yes.
Yes. And what's your
Jeffrey
title?
and I, being the co-founders, we talk at every Eventapart. I'm actually doing the CSS3 Anarchist Cookbook.
I love that title. What is that? No idea.
So it's ways to use CSS3 to really hurt people visually. maybe not really hurt people. But a decade ago roughly, I wrote an article for the O'Reilly Network called the CSS Anarchist Cookbook,
Right.
which was things like, write yourself a user style sheet that says table, display none. 97% of the web just went away, right, at the time.
I remember that.
So this is an update using CSS3 stuff to do, things like, whatever. We'll figure it out. I've come up with some interesting stuff I don't want to give away too much. I will say that transitions and transforms and animations, you can do some pretty evil things.
That sounds fun.
And I learned some very interesting things along the way. As an example, you can't rotate inline elements in all browsers.
Okay.
Right? So
wow.
Part of and there are perfectly good reasons for that.
Yep.
And some browsers do it. Some browsers will rotate them and some browsers won't. The point being that, that's one of the things that will come up in the talk is so I did this and then I got these two different results and I couldn't figure out why. And then I went digging and I discovered that blah, blah, blah. Right. So watch out for that. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's important stuff.
It has that ability. Yeah. And what I'm really looking forward to, I have to be honest, is that the talk will not have any slides.
Okay. That's great.
It will be me projecting a text editor window, BB edit, and browsers. And it will be change stuff in the source, hit save, go over to the browser, hit reload, see what happens, right? I'm just happiest when I present that way.
You're a brave
I've done
man.
slides for the last few years, and it's just like click, click, right? There are people who rock the slide deck, and I don't want to take anything away from that. I am not one of those people, right? I can handle a slide deck. I can have slides that have pictures of cute kittens, but I do not rock a slide deck. If I can be said to rock on stage, I rock a text editor and a browser. And if it crashes, so much the better, right? Because it's like, this happens to everybody.
Yeah.
Well,
you should do what you're best at. Well, let me ask you this: you've spoken at lots of events. You do this all the time. If you were to give some advice to someone who was going to speak for the first time at an event, what would that be?
Wow. I think probably the core piece of advice I would give to someone who's on stage for the first time is the audience is on your side. It's easy to fall into a mode of thinking where I have to prove to the audience that I'm worth being here, which leads to sort of you get sort of into this adversarial frame of mind. It's like, okay, they want to know why I deserve to be here, and I have to prove it to them, right? Which is not a bad thing to sort of have as a drive to make your talk as awesome as possible, because you should do that. But at the same time, generally they're on your side, right? It's not like they've got vegetables ready to throw. It's not the Apollo Theater, right? I mean, God bless the Apollo Theater, but the fact that you get up there and the crowd will boo you off the stage if they don't like what you're doing, that doesn't typically happen at tech conferences. I've never seen it happen.
I've never seen vegetables.
To be honest, and I don't remember ever having heard booing except in sort of a maybe when somebody praised Internet Explorer 6, there might have been
happen. Yes,
but it would. No, I'm just kidding. It's certainly possible that they alienate an audience. I mean, that has happened. Right. But you kind of have to work at it, has been my experience. You've really got to try to alienate the audience before they will really turn on you. Or be completely clueless. So, I think that's it, because a lot of people, like I've seen a number of first-time speakers who are like, they're so tense. It's like, oh my God, right? And sometimes it seems like some of that comes from this idea that, if they don't win the audience over, the audience will want to hurt them. And that's just not the case. The audience wants to see you succeed. They want to learn something. They want it to be cool, right? And so
that's good advice.
For a first-time speaker, that's what I'd say.
That's really good, because we're always encouraging people. We have a refresh group here that I help organize. We have an AIGA chapter that we're pretty involved in, and we're always trying to get people to speak. And so that was some really helpful advice. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, it's that, and what at least we tell people who speak at Event Apart is that you're speaking because you have something interesting and awesome to say, right? So just by dint of being asked to speak at a conference,
Right.
You're already you've got something to say, right? And I've seen, not really, I haven't seen this at an event apart, but I have seen this from time to time where people get up and they basically apologize for what they're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know you guys probably know all this already, but bear with me. And it's just like,
Don't
what?
apologize.
Right. Either, if you think the audience already knows this, either make it 30 seconds for or don't talk about that. Talk about something else.
Right.
Talk about something you don't think that they know, right?
Yeah.
And so,
That's great. Yeah, I think a lot of people want to just make it long. They just want to talk for 45 minutes.
Well, there's that, and for whatever reason, in technology, there seems to be, not everyone does this, of course, but and maybe this happens in other fields, but it seems like there are people who feel like, oh, I am not worthy, right? I know I'm on stage, but I am no more worthy than anyone else to be up here, and I'm sorry if that I might be wasting your time. And that's the wrong tone to set, right?
Yeah.
And to do that is just, that actually will kind of alienate an audience quickly. You're on stage because you have something interesting to say, so say something interesting, right? And the audience is on your side, so there you go.
Awesome. Well, Eric, thanks so much for the great advice, and we look forward to Event Apart in Atlanta.
Me too.
Thank you for putting together.
I'm really looking forward to coming back.
Good.
And George Aquarium. Woo!
Have you ever seen it? It's.
Yes, I have been there. It's still. I can still see the whale shark looming out of the distance.
It's pretty crazy.
It's just it was amazing. Yeah. So,
awesome.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it too, and we're really looking forward to the. I'm really looking forward to seeing the lineup. That's. I don't think we haven't had this exact lineup in any other city before.
It's an awesome lineup.
Yeah, it should be really good.
Awesome. Well, hope to see you there.
Hey, Gene, thanks very much. I'll see you there.